The internet is on fire after shocking footage leaked from a heated confrontation between Judy and Yandy, and it ended with a slap that no one saw coming. What was supposed to be a calm family discussion spiraled into complete chaos when Mendeecees' mother, Judy, lost her temper and struck Yandy across the face in front of everyone. Cameras were rolling, people were screaming, and Mendeecees was forced to make a heartbreaking choice that stunned fans. He kicked his own mother out. Witnesses say the argument started over Yandy's recent decisions about the family business. But the tension between the two women has been brewing for years. Judy has never been shy about her opinions, especially when it comes to her son's marriage. But this time, things went too far. The slap wasn't just physical, it was symbolic of years of resentment and unspoken words finally exploding. Mendeecees, caught in the middle, tried to defuse the situation. But when Judy refused to back down and continued shouting insults at Yandy, he snapped. "You've gotta go, Ma," he said, his voice breaking. The room went silent as security escorted Judy out, leaving Yandy in tears and fans stunned at the emotional fallout. This wasn't just another reality TV fight. It was a family implosion caught on camera, and it's changing everything people thought they knew about the Harris household. It started as an ordinary afternoon in the Harris household, cameras set up, producers in position, everyone expecting a routine family scene for the show. Yandy had planned a simple meeting to talk through some new ideas for expanding their family business, hoping to get Judy's support. But the air was already thick with tension before anyone said a word. Mendeecees sat quietly at the table, clearly aware that this wasn't going to be just another conversation. Judy walked in with her usual confidence, her tone sharp even before she sat down. "So what's this meeting really about, Yandy?" she asked, crossing her arms. "Because I already feel like I'm being ambushed." Yandy took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "It's not an ambush, Judy," she said softly. "I just want us all on the same page. The business is growing and there are decisions we need to make together." But Judy wasn't having it. "You mean you want to make decisions and expect everyone to follow?" she snapped. The room instantly went silent. Mendeecees looked down at the floor, rubbing his forehead, trying to keep his composure. "Ma, please," he muttered. "Don't start." But it was too late. Judy was already heated for years. Judy had felt like Yandy had taken control of her son's life, from his finances to his family relationships. She didn't like the idea that Yandy was always the one making final calls, especially when it came to the family business. And this new plan that Yandy had proposed, one that involved moving certain responsibilities away from Judy, felt like a betrayal every time I try to help. "You make me feel like I'm the problem," Judy said, her voice rising. "But let's be real. I was helping him before you even came around." Yandy's eyes filled with frustration. "I'm not trying to erase you, Judy," she said firmly. "But you can't keep treating me like an outsider in my own family. I'm his wife, and I'm doing what's best for us." That sentence hit Judy like a slap before the real one ever came. "Your family," Judy repeated with disbelief. "You mean my son's family? Don't forget who raised him, who was there when nobody else was. You got a lot of nerve talking to me like I'm some stranger." The energy in the room was thick and uncomfortable. The producers tried to keep the cameras rolling without interrupting, sensing that the tension was about to erupt. Mendeecees tried to step in again, saying, "We're not doing this today," but both women ignored him. "See, that's the problem," Judy continued, pointing her finger at Yandy. "You think everything gotta go your way? You act like you the boss of everybody. But the truth is, without my son, you wouldn't even have that platform you stand on." That was it. Yandy's patience finally cracked. "I'm done letting you disrespect me, Judy," she said, standing up. "You don't get to keep attacking me and hiding behind being his mother. You've crossed the line too many times." Mendeecees stood too, raising his voice slightly. "Yo, both of y'all need to chill." But neither of them was listening anymore. Judy slammed her hand on the table. "Don't tell me to chill when she's been disrespecting me for years," she shouted. Yandy stepped closer, her voice trembling now. "Disrespecting you? You've been talking down to me since the day I met you. I've tried to keep the peace for him, but I'm not about to keep being your punching bag. Then it happened, the moment that froze everyone in the room. Judy leaned forward, her face inches from Yandy's, and before anyone could react, she swung her hand across Yandy's cheek with a sharp, echoing smack. The sound of it silenced the room. Yandy stumbled back, her eyes wide in shock. Mendeecees froze for a second, his jaw dropping. Even the camera crew gasped. For a brief, terrifying moment, nobody moved. Then Yandy's hand went to her face, and her voice broke. "Did you really just hit me?" she said, barely above a whisper. Judy stood there breathing heavily, realizing almost instantly what she had done. "You've pushed me," she muttered defensively, but her voice was shaking. "You don't talk to me like that, Ma?" Mendeecees shouted, finally snapping out of his shock. "What is wrong with you?" He rushed to Yandy's side, checking if she was okay, but Yandy pulled away, tears already streaming down her face. "I told you this was too much," she said, trembling. "I told you she doesn't respect me." The producers tried to intervene, signaling to security, but Mendeecees held up his hand. "Nah, I got it," he said, his tone suddenly cold. He turned to his mother, his eyes full of disappointment. "You hit my wife, Ma, in front of everybody. You really think that's okay?" Judy tried to speak, but her son cut her off. "No, there's no excuse for that. You've been crossing lines for too long, and I've been letting it slide, but not this time." "Don't talk to me like I'm some stranger," Judy said, her voice cracking now. "I'm your mother." "I know who you are," Mendeecees said quietly. "That's what makes this even worse." The silence that followed was heavy, filled with years of built-up emotion that no one knew how to release. Yandy sat down, shaking, while Judy stood frozen, her eyes darting between her son and his wife. Finally, Mendeecees spoke again, this time with finality. "You gotta go, Ma." The words hit harder than the slap itself. Judy's face fell. "What?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "You can't stay here," he said firmly. "Not after this. I love you, but I can't let you keep tearing this family apart." Security stepped closer, unsure if they should move, but Mendeecees gave them a nod. "Please escort her out." Judy tried to argue, tears now welling in her eyes. "You're really choosing her over your own mother?" she said. "I'm choosing peace," he replied, as security gently guided Judy toward the door. She kept looking back at her son, waiting for him to stop her, but he didn't. Yandy sat quietly, staring at the floor, still processing what had just happened. The cameras caught every second. The pain, the disbelief, the heartbreak of a son torn between love and loyalty. Outside, Judy broke down in tears as producers tried to console her. "I didn't mean to hit her," she cried. "It just happened. She pushed me too far." But inside, Mendeecees knew that something had changed forever. The line that had been crossed couldn't be uncrossed. The confrontation ripped open wounds that had been festering since Mendeecees came home. Judy had always felt Yandy took her son away, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. She wanted control, but Yandy had built her own family and refused to let Judy dictate their lives. What Judy didn't expect was for Mendeecees to finally pick a side. After the scene, Mendeecees didn't even go to comfort his mother. He went straight to Yandy, helping her offset, whispering, "You don't deserve that." Judy stood there, shaking her head, muttering under her breath that her son had been brainwashed. But deep down, she knew something had changed. The power dynamic had shifted back at their home. Yandy sat silently, still trying to process everything. The cameras captured her pain as she whispered, "She humiliated me." In front of everyone, Mendeecees clenched his fists, pacing the room. He knew his mother had a temper, but this was too far. "She's not stepping foot in this house again," he said finally, his voice trembling between anger and heartbreak. Yandy looked at him, unsure if he meant it, but when he picked up the phone to call his mom, she realized he was serious. The call was tense from the moment Judy answered. "You crossed the line, Ma," Mendeecees said, his tone cold. "You don't put your hands on my wife, ever." Judy tried to defend herself, claiming Yandy disrespected her, but Mendeecees wasn't having it. "That's it. I need space." Don't come around for a while." There was a silence on the other end, long and painful. Then Judy's voice cracked. "So you choosing her over me?" He took a deep breath. "I'm choosing peace." Was the first time Judy truly realized she had lost control. For years, she'd been the strongest influence in Mendeecees' life. But now, Yandy had taken that place, not through manipulation, but through love. Still, Judy's pride wouldn't let her admit it. She started calling family members, painting herself as the victim, claiming Yandy set her up for that reaction. But everyone knew what they saw. The slap had been real, and so were the consequences. Behind the scenes, producers debated whether to air the footage. It was explosive, raw television gold. But it also crossed a line even for reality TV. Mendeecees made it clear that if they used it, he'd consider walking away from the show. "This isn't entertainment. That's my family," he told them. But the producers saw the numbers, the buzz, the headlines already forming online. "This is going viral." One of them whispered, as the clip leaked online before the official episode aired. The internet went wild. Fans were split. Some blamed Yandy for provoking Judy. Others said Judy finally showed her true colors. Memes flooded social media. Hashtags like #TeamYandyY and #ProtectYandyY trended overnight. Yandy tried to ignore the noise, but the emotional damage was already done. She felt violated, not just by Judy's slap, but by how millions of strangers now dissected her family's pain. Meanwhile, Judy refused to back down. On a live stream, she said, "People can call me whatever they want. I'm still his mother, and I'll always protect my son from fake love." That statement made everything worse. Mendeecees saw the clip and slammed his phone down. "She doesn't even care," he said bitterly. Yandy sighed. "She's trying to control the story. That's what she does." Part 2 of their fallout unfolded. It became clear that the slap wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a family war that was about to spill into the public eye in ways no one expected. The days after the slap felt like a storm that wouldn't end. Every blog, every gossip page, every podcast was dissecting Judy and Yandy's fight frame by frame. People argued about who was right, who provoked who, and what it meant for the family. But for Mendeecees, none of that mattered anymore. What mattered was that his mother had humiliated the woman he loved and done it on camera. He hadn't slept properly since that day. His phone buzzed constantly with messages from relatives and producers, but he ignored them all. His focus was on Yandy, who had barely said a word since it happened. One morning, Yandy finally broke her silence. "I can't live like this," she said softly. "Every time your mom gets angry, I'm the target. Every time I try to protect my peace, I'm painted as the villain. It's draining." Mendeecees looked at her with a heavy heart. "I know, and I'm done letting her get away with it." That's when he made a decision that even Yandy didn't expect. He told Judy to pack her things. When Mendeecees arrived at his mother's house, she was sitting on the couch, calm but defensive. "So you really gonna throw me out of your life over that girl?" she asked coldly. "Ma," he said firmly, "this isn't about taking sides. It's about boundaries. You don't get to disrespect my wife and still expect to be in our home." Judy crossed her arms, glaring at him. "I raised you better than to let some woman turn you against your family." He took a deep breath. "You raised me to protect my family, and that's what I'm doing." The words hung in the air like a final verdict. Judy stood up, eyes full of tears she refused to let fall. "One day you'll see she's not who you think she is," she whispered. But Mendeecees didn't flinch. "Maybe, but I'm not letting you destroy what I've built." When he walked out, Judy's face crumbled. The strong, sharp-tongued mother everyone knew was gone, replaced by a woman realizing she'd lost her son's loyalty for good. Later that night, Yandy sat in bed when Mendeecees came home. He looked exhausted but resolute. "I told her she can't come back for now," he said quietly. Yandy's eyes widened. "You really did that?" He nodded. "I had to. I've been letting her control my life since I was a kid. I'm done." Yandy took his hand, the tension finally breaking. "Thank you," she whispered, "for choosing us." The fallout didn't stop there. The leaked footage reached millions of views, and fans began to dig deeper into the family's complicated past. Some resurfaced old clips showing Judy's pattern of manipulation, while others posted heartfelt messages urging reconciliation. The pressure mounted until even producers started reaching out, suggesting a sit-down reunion between Judy, Yandy, and Mendeecees on camera. Of course, at first, Yandy refused. "I'm not giving her another platform to humiliate me," she said. But Mendeecees convinced her it might be the only way to close the chapter publicly. When the day came, the atmosphere on set was painfully tense. Judy walked in wearing sunglasses, refusing to make eye contact. Yandy sat across from her, calm but guarded, her hands clasped tightly. The host started with the obvious question. "Judy, do you regret slapping Yandy? Do you regret slapping Yandy?" Judy paused for a long moment, then said, "I regret letting my emotions get the best of me, but I don't regret standing up for my son." The audience murmured. Yandy looked at her and replied, "Standing up for your son shouldn't mean tearing down his wife. I've never tried to take him from you. I've just wanted peace." For the first time, Judy looked genuinely conflicted. Her voice softened. "You think I don't want peace? I just don't know how to be part of his life without losing control." That admission shifted the entire tone. Mendeecees, who had been quiet until then, finally spoke. "Ma, you don't have to control everything to be loved. I love you, but I need space to be my own man. And I need you to respect my wife." Judy's lip trembled. "I just miss my baby boy," she whispered. The cameras caught Yandy reaching across the table, resting her hand on Judy's arm. "You didn't lose him," she said softly. "You just have to share him." Tears rolled down Judy's cheeks, and for the first time in years, all three shared a real moment of vulnerability. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't even forgiveness yet, but it was the start of healing. The host ended the segment by thanking them for their honesty, but everyone in that room knew it wasn't just for show. This was real life, messy, painful, and complicated. After filming wrapped, Judy quietly approached Yandy backstage. "I may never agree with how you do things," she said, "but I see how much you love my son. Maybe that's enough for now." Yandy smiled faintly. "That's all I've ever wanted." They hugged briefly, awkward, uncertain, but sincere. Mendeecees stood nearby, exhaling deeply as if a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. As they left the studio, paparazzi shouted questions, but the family ignored them. For once, it wasn't about headlines or public perception. It was about peace. Still, not everyone believed the truce would last. Some fans said it was just for the cameras. Others believed Judy's pride would resurface again. But for that brief moment, Mendeecees, Yandy, and Judy found something they hadn't had in years: silence, understanding, and maybe the first step toward rebuilding what was broken. The night ended quietly at home. Yandy sat beside Mendeecees, leaning on his shoulder as he scrolled through his phone. "You think she really meant it?" she asked. He shrugged. "I think she's trying. That's enough for now." They exchanged a small smile, both knowing the battle wasn't truly over. But for once, they weren't fighting alone. It was more than a slap, more than a headline. It was a painful reminder that even family love can come with scars, and that sometimes the only way to heal is to finally let go of control and choose peace. Family drama like this reminds us that sometimes the biggest battles don't happen on the streets or in front of cameras. They happen inside our own homes. Watching Yandy stand her ground while Mendeecees finally chose peace showed how love and loyalty can collide in the most painful ways. But here's the real question. Was Judy really wrong for trying to protect her son? Or did she just go too far this time? Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell me what you would have done if you were in Mendeecees' shoes. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because this story is far from over. More shocking updates and behind-the-scenes drama are coming soon. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what happens next.